You own nothing in this world unless you have claimed it in imagination. You may work, toil, and labor under the sun, but if in the corridors of your mind you are still poor, still lacking, still hoping, then you have not possessed. True possession is never physical. It begins in the invisible sanctuary of your own consciousness. I tell you now, everything you could ever desire already exists in the kingdom within. The gold is not in the vaults of the world. It is in your awakened assumption. I stood once at the edge of despair, looking at my empty pockets and thinking, how can I possibly afford this? And a voice not from without, but within said, assume you already have it. I closed my eyes, and with a stubborn joy, I imagined the feeling of having what I previously feared I lacked. I did not ask for it. I possessed it, and so it came. Not by effort, but by law. Possession in imagination is not idle daydreaming. It is a claim, a royal decree that what is seen inwardly is yours now, regardless of the outer shadows. You must feel yourself wealthy, not in terms of things, but in the radiance of already being. Ask yourself not what you must do to get wealth, but who you must become to have it, and then be it now. Imaginative possession is not wishful thinking. It is assuming the tone, the breath, the ease of wealth as if it were your birthright. Because it is. There is a great error in the world, and it is this, that man must first gain possession of something physically in order to call it his. The world teaches that possession is determined by title, by effort, by external acquisition. But I tell you, possession begins not with hands, but with awareness. You possess what you inwardly accept as yours. What the world calls having is only the echo of a deeper cause. The source of all wealth lies not in the marketplace, nor in the systems of trade, but in the invisible substance of consciousness. You do not acquire wealth, you awaken to it. To possess imaginatively is to seize a thing before it is seen. It is to move into the state where the desire is no longer an abstract wish, but a living reality in your mind. And once something becomes real in your imagination, it begins to harden into fact. This is the law that governs the structure of all manifestation. Whatever you can claim internally, you will own externally. The treasure house is within. All else is the shadow cast by that light. When a man walks through life hoping to become rich, he broadcasts a message of lack. He affirms that what he desires is distant, foreign, withheld from him. But when a man assumes he already is rich, not in arrogance, but in quiet knowing, he sends a signal of completion. The world then bends its knee to his assumption, not because it was forced to, but because it must. The outer world is clay, and the inner world is the sculptor. Every form that is called wealth, be it money, opportunity, property, or partnership, arises from the mold you press in imagination. True possession is not defined by ownership in the eyes of men, but by the felt reality within the self. If you were told that an inheritance awaits you overseas, and you fully accepted that truth, would you not begin to live from it even before the money reaches your hands? You would spend differently, think differently, walk with a new ease, because inwardly you have claimed it. That is possession. The moment you feel a thing is yours, you begin to act accordingly. The outer world is slow to catch up, but it must reflect what you continue to affirm. The tragedy is that most people wait for the external sign before they allow the internal state. They wait for the check, the deal, the promotion, but such a method is upside down, because does not follow effect. If you want the world to show you wealth, you must first show the world your wealth consciousness. The field must be sown before it can be harvested, and the seed is your feeling of ownership. When you look at the world and say, I cannot afford this, you deny yourself the opportunity to imagine. Instead, say within yourself, if I owned this now, how would it feel? And dwell there. Let the feeling of ownership wash over you. Let it become so natural that you forget what it means to be without. Do not ask how it will come. The ways and means are not your concern. Your sole task is to dwell in the assumption of having. Let it become your dwelling place. Let it be the air you breathe. Think of a child playing make-believe. He holds a stick and imagines it is a sword. He does not doubt it. He swings it with the confidence of a warrior. The stick becomes real because his imagination lends it power. So it is with you. If you dare to imagine a bank account overflowing, a home filled with beauty, a life of ease, and persist in that inner scene, then the world will bow before your act of creation. Not because you begged for it, but because you possessed it. Everything that has ever been manifested began first in the invisible. The airplane, the telephone, the skyscraper, all were first held in the mind of a man who dared to call them real before the world saw them. He possessed the idea so fully that reality was compelled to form around it. So too must you possess the idea of wealth, not as a wish, but as a present reality. Imaginative possession does not mean fantasizing for pleasure. It means assuming the role, adopting the tone, walking in the atmosphere of completion. If you can sit in silence and conjure the life you desire, with all its sights, sounds, and textures, and feel that you are truly living it now, then you have touched the root of all manifestation. And if you can hold to that state, refusing to let the senses distract you, then in due season the world will reorganize itself to mirror your inner claim. Possession is not earned. It is not chased. It is accepted. And the one who accepts inwardly becomes the master of the outer world. You need not wait. You need only assume. You need only feel. And what you feel, you shall receive. There is a silent force that governs the movement of all things. And that force is feeling. Not emotion, not fleeting excitement, but the deep, abiding sense of already having. The moment a man feels himself to be something, the world bends its current to reflect that feeling. It is not belief alone, nor positive thought, but the living sensation that what you seek is already yours, that transforms the invisible into the visible. What you feel deeply and consistently, you call into form. The outer world does not initiate change. It responds to the seed planted in the soul, and that seed is feeling. To feel wealthy is not merely to imagine piles of money. It is to feel the security, the confidence, the restfulness that comes with having. If you were truly rich, how would you walk? How would you speak? What would your thoughts be before sleep? You must study yourself inwardly, not as you are now, but as the version of you who has already received. Because it is from that version that reality is drawn. When you persist in the inner feeling of having, all things necessary to support that feeling begin to emerge. Not by force, but by law. The world knows not what you want. It only knows what you are. You cannot fool it by pretending outwardly while denying inwardly. But once you establish a mood, a vibration, a knowing of possession within you, then even the most stubborn facts begin to rearrange. The man who sees lack around him and chooses instead to feel abundance within him is the one who shall see the miracle unfold. The law does not favor the clever. It favors the inwardly certain. Suppose you desired freedom from financial worry. You may tell yourself affirmations, repeat phrases, or visualize scenes. But until you feel free, until your breath lightens and your chest expands in the atmosphere of wealth, you remain unchanged. The world answers only to your state of being. Words mean nothing unless they carry the aroma of truth for you. When you feel a thing to be true, the words disappear and the world listens. The feeling is the prayer, the mood is the mold, the sensation is the command. Now listen carefully. You are always feeling something, and that feeling is the creative instrument. Whether you use it consciously or not, the law does not sleep. If you feel anxious, you are calling forth the structure of anxiety. If you feel desperate, you magnetize further desperation. But if In the silence of your own mind, you can feel the ease of already having, even when the evidence shouts otherwise. Then the evidence must yield. The visible is not master. The feeling is. There is no virtue in waiting. Waiting assumes lack. But when you rise inwardly to the level of being that corresponds to your desire, the need to wait disappears, and the manifestation follows like a shadow. Consider the difference between one who asks and one who receives. The asker is in need, but the receiver is in rest. The receiver already knows it is done. And from that rest flows action, guidance, and unfolding. The man who receives within is led without. If you desired wealth, and I told you the money was already in your account, would you not walk differently today? You would not plead. You would not worry. You would move through life with a calm assurance. That state, that internal poise, is the bridge to physical wealth. The riches arrive not to make you feel wealthy, but because you already felt it. Everything is drawn to you by correspondence. You become a magnet not by effort but by alignment. The world is a mirror, and it reflects not what you hope, but what you are. If you are poor in feeling, the mirror returns poverty in form. If you are rich in feeling, the mirror must produce the image. It cannot help itself. Do not ask the mirror to change without changing what stands before it. Stand differently, feel differently. Then the mirror will reflect accordingly. Take time each day to sit in silence, not to wish, but to feel. Let the scene in your imagination become real by the weight of your emotion. Not frantic desire, but peaceful ownership. Let the feeling of already having rise within you like the sun. And when it shines steadily, the world will grow in its light. It is not the scene that matters, but the feeling that accompanies it. You could imagine a feast, but feel hunger and remain hungry. Or imagine a simple meal and feel satisfied, and the world will echo that satisfaction. When you adopt the feeling of already having, you speak a language the universe understands. You send out a tone, and reality responds like a tuning fork. The wise do not wait for things to change. They change their vibration, their attitude, their feeling. And then watch as the world adjusts itself like clay under the hands of the sculptor. What the world calls pretending, the wise call the beginning of creation. Not the false mask worn to deceive, but the sacred posture assumed to awaken. There is a pretending that is empty and superficial, and there is a pretending that is rich, vibrant, and filled with the life of what is becoming. When one engages in spiritual pretending, they are not escaping reality, they are shaping it. You are never more divine than when you dare to assume the role that the world says does not belong to you yet. For the world measures by facts, but the soul measures by faith. To pretend, in the highest sense, is to occupy a state of being that the senses do not yet confirm. It is to act from a conviction that your desire is already fulfilled. It is to carry the tone of having while nothing yet in the world has changed. And that, precisely, is the point. You do not pretend because the world has given you permission. You pretend because you have given yourself the right to become. It is the rehearsal of the real, the living practice of the unseen. Children know this power instinctively. A child with a cardboard box can become a captain of a ship, a king on his throne, or a traveler in space. He does not wait for the environment to convince him. He convinces the environment by the intensity of his assumption. His world, for the time he inhabits that state, conforms to his imagination. The walls become waves, the sky becomes infinite, and the carpet becomes the surface of the moon. He is not lying, he is creating. Adults, on the other hand, have been trained to reject this sacred art. They call it delusion, fantasy, escapism. But in doing so, they cut themselves off from the very tool by which all reality is born. Everything that has ever been created was first pretended in the mind of someone who dared to believe in its possibility. The architect saw the tower before it stood. The artist beheld the masterpiece. Before the canvas was touched, the inventor imagined the device while the world called it madness. Pretending is not folly, it is foundation. When you pretend to be wealthy, you are not lying. You are entering into alignment with the version of yourself that already exists in the dimension of fulfillment. You begin to walk like him, think like him, feel like him. And by the law that governs all things, the outer world must eventually reflect the inner identity. The pretense becomes the truth, not because the facts changed first, but because you did. The world is plastic to your assumption. You must remember that the universe does not respond to effort alone. It does not reward the one who struggles most, nor the one who waits longest. It answers the one who feels most real. When you pretend successfully, you evoke the feeling of being. You summon the atmosphere of already having. And in that atmosphere, the seeds of manifestation take root. The longer you dwell there, the deeper the roots grow, until the physical outpicturing becomes inevitable. Pretending is not done with doubt. It is done with surrender. You must immerse yourself in the scene so fully that you forget it is not yet fact. Let the assumption become more natural than the current conditions. Speak as the one who already is. Walk as the one who already owns. Rest as the one who already lives in the end. There is no power in waiting for life to grant you permission. The power lies in granting it to yourself now by pretending with reverence. When you sit quietly and close your eyes, you are stepping behind the curtain. The senses no longer dominate. The imagination takes the stage. There, in that secret theater, you are free to wear the garments of your choosing. Put on the robe of success. Wear the crown of abundance. Move as the one who is desired, cherished, respected. It is not a game, it is a creative act. And what is rehearsed in secret is rewarded in public, even when doubt rises. And it will return to the role. Like an actor returning to character, assume again the identity you have chosen. Not because the evidence is there, but because the law is there. You are not trying to make something happen. You are revealing what already exists in the eternal present. The longer you dwell in your chosen state, the more familiar it becomes. And once it becomes familiar, it becomes visible. Pretending in this way is not weakness. It is not deception. It is the highest form of faith. It says, I do not need to see it to believe it. I believe it, therefore I will see it. The one who pretends with feeling walks before the facts. He does not wait for confirmation. He is the confirmation. And to such a one, the world responds with uncanny precision. For creation itself is pretending brought to life, and the life you now live is nothing more than yesterday's assumption fulfilled. There is a law, quiet and invisible, yet constant as gravity, that you do not draw to yourself what you need, but only what you are. The moment you feel lack, the thing you desire slips further from your grasp. It is not because you are unworthy, or because the world is unfair, but because need is a declaration that you do not have. And this universe, being a perfect mirror, reflects what you claim, not with your words, but with your state of being. If you dwell in the house of need, you shall see more need. If you dwell in the atmosphere of fulfillment, even if only inwardly, you begin to attract all that reflects that inward wholeness. Most walk through life pleading with circumstances, trying to convince the world to give them something they have not yet assumed. They say, when I get the job, I'll feel secure. When I find love, I'll feel wanted. When I receive the money, I'll feel abundant. But this is not how the law operates. You must first feel secure to be placed in the position. You must first feel wanted to experience love. You must feel abundant before abundance appears. You are not given the thing so you can become. You become so the thing is given. Need is resistance. It is a mental posture that states loudly, I do not have, and that statement becomes a command. Life is not cruel, it is precise. It does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you are. To need is to confirm separation from your desire. It is to place the object of your longing outside of yourself, out of reach, and in doing so, you build the wall that prevents its arrival. Fulfillment, on the other hand, is magnetic. When you feel as though the desire has already been granted, something changes in your vibration. You cease chasing, and you begin receiving. The anxious voice quiets, and a calm certainty takes its place. That calm is not passive, it is powerful. It speaks a language the unseen responds to. It says, "It is done." And the moment that declaration becomes your inner truth, life begins reorganizing itself to reflect it. You must learn to generate the feeling of already having. Even if you do not know how it will come, even if nothing in the world confirms it yet, you must go within and touch that sacred state, the state of possession, the state of joy, the state of thank you. Not thank you in advance, but thank you because it is. The difference is subtle, but everything turns on that axis. Imagine a man who is hungry and desperate. His energy speaks loudly, "I lack, I need, I suffer." Though he may cry for food, though he may pray and beg, the law sees his inner condition and reflects more of it. Now imagine another man, no different in form, but inwardly at peace. He imagines a full table. He feels the warmth of nourishment. He feasts in imagination long before the meal appears. He is no longer trying to attract food. He has become the one who is fed. And that change, invisible and internal, calls forth the feast. You cannot fool the law with action alone. You may work tirelessly, but if your efforts are fueled by anxiety, fear, or desperation, you will spin your wheels in vain. But the one who acts from fulfillment, even small, quiet actions, moves mountains, because their vibration carries weight. Their state is already in harmony with the outcome they desire. And nature, which always seeks harmony, must respond in kind. Fulfillment does not mean pretending all is well when it is not. It means feeling as though it already has become well, even when the senses scream otherwise. It is not a denial of facts. It is a selection of truth. You choose to dwell in the version of reality where your wish is realized, and by dwelling there, you become it. And what you become, you must encounter. Need keeps you waiting. Fulfillment makes you ready. The one who needs is always looking to the future, always hoping, always reaching. But the one who is fulfilled lives in the now. They do not search. They recognize. They do not chase. They allow. They do not want. They welcome. Because inwardly, they already possess it. This is the great reversal that changes everything. That you do not get to feel whole after the world gives to you. You feel whole now, and the world gives because of it. The treasure is not out there waiting to be found. It is inside you waiting to be assumed. And the moment you assume it, the outer world, like a faithful servant, rises to meet you. Possession does not come by toil. It comes by assumption. The man who labors without inner conviction is like one drawing water with a broken bucket. No matter how much effort he exerts, the end is always emptiness. You do not possess because you strive. You possess because you know. The truth of ownership lies not in your hands, but in your state of consciousness. What you are conscious of being, you are. And what you are, the world must reflect. The world applauds struggle. It praises long hours, sacrifice, exhaustion. But these are shadows compared to the light of awareness. A man who becomes conscious of being wealthy, even in the quiet stillness of his mind, does more in that moment than years of effort from a man who remains inwardly poor. You may build without consciousness and watch it fall. But when you build in consciousness first, the structure is supported by an eternal law. You are not rewarded for what you do. You are rewarded for what you believe you are. This is why two men can walk the same path and receive different outcomes. One works with anxiety, the other with assurance. One serves from fear, the other from knowing. And though their outer motions appear the same, the vibration behind them determines what follows. Labor alone is not the currency of reality. Consciousness is. A beggar may sweat all day for coins, while another, resting in quiet confidence, receives riches with ease. Why? Because one confirms lack and the other affirms abundance. The law does not care about appearances. It responds to vibration. It answers to identity. You cannot deceive it with motion while denying truth within. When you declare inwardly, I have, the world begins to shape itself around that declaration. Possession begins with being. Before the tree bore fruit, it was a seed, invisible, buried, silent. But within the seed was the entire pattern. The fruit was already there, though unseen. So too is every manifestation hidden in the seed of consciousness. Before you hold the thing in your hand, you must hold the feeling of it in your mind. The work begins not on the outside, but on the inner plane where cause is planted. To believe that labor is the source of wealth is to hand your power to circumstance. It is to say, only if I do enough, I might receive. But to live from consciousness is to say, because I am, all is drawn to me. You do not wait, you do not plead, you radiate. And from that radiation things are gathered. Ideas, people, paths, resources, all orbit around your state like planets around a sun. The old way teaches striving, the new way teaches resting in being. Not idleness, but inspired movement. You are not meant to work to exhaustion, hoping to someday feel secure. You are meant to feel secure now, and let your actions flow from that inner fullness. When you begin from possession, the path becomes smooth. When you begin from lack, the path is always uphill. The mistake is to believe that effort alone brings reward. But have you not seen the weary, the exhausted, the disappointed? They worked, but never changed their state. So their world repeated itself, despite their sacrifice. Until a man transforms his consciousness, he remains where he is, no matter how far he travels. But when a man shifts within, the world cannot help but respond. Take a moment and ask, if I already possessed this, if I truly had it, how would I feel? That feeling is the doorway. That is where the real work begins. Not with hands, but with focus. Not with hours, but with alignment. Assume the consciousness of possession. Let it fill you. Let it replace the old patterns of waiting and hoping. Let it become natural. And then, when you act, your actions will not be to gain, but to express what is already true. You are not here to earn your worth. You are here to express your truth. Your worth is established by your awareness of being. You possess not by reaching, but by recognizing. The moment you accept something as yours in consciousness, the process has begun. The outer form may take time, but the claim is already complete. You were never meant to exhaust yourself in search of symbols. The symbols come to the one who has assumed the state. Do not chase what you are meant to draw. Do not seek what you are called to command. Stand in the awareness of having. Let the world reflect that knowing. And let your hands labor only as a joy, not as a demand. You are the cause. You are the origin. And you possess not by effort, but by being. So now you know the secret, the only true secret worth guarding. That wealth is not found, not earned, not pursued. It is assumed. It is received first within, possessed first in consciousness, and then allowed to unfold in the outer world. The mansion does not precede the mind that built it. The fortune does not arrive before the man declares it his. The treasure of the world lies hidden behind the veil of assumption, and only the bold in spirit dare to pull it back. You are always creating, not with your hands, but with your state of being. What you consent to inwardly, you invite outwardly, and the wealth that flows to you is the echo of the wealth you have dared to feel. Not wished for, not waited on, not begged for, but felt as real. It is not your need that calls it forth, but your fulfillment. Not your toil that births it, but your knowing. You do not become rich by seeking money. You become rich by being rich in consciousness. And then the symbols appear. Every moment is a choice between lack and possession, between pleading and claiming, between drifting and assuming. What you occupy in imagination becomes the space you live in tomorrow. The world bends to the inner atmosphere you establish. So establish it now. Do not delay. Do not wait for signs or permission. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Possess it in silence. And let the world, faithful and precise, rise to meet your inner decree. Now walk as though it is done. Think from the end. Give thanks not because you hope, but because you have. For all things, the gold, the joy, the freedom, the fullness, are already yours. They await not in the distance, but in your decision to be. Imagine boldly, assume fully, possess effortlessly, and the world will mirror your faith, perfectly, unfailingly, completely.